Happy Tuesday, all. It is the Tuesday before Easter, the Tuesday of Holy Week. Um, and just like the Monday of Holy Week, Jesus goes into Jerusalem. He wakes up as that week progresses. He gets closer to his death, his crucifixion. So he takes every opportunity he can to go into Jerusalem and teach and preach and perform miracles and to confront and provoke, in essence, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the religious leaders of his day. As I said in my sermon this past week, Jesus had perfect timing. It wasn't until God had ordained it, it wasn't until the right time that Jesus began to provoke, that Jesus began to confront and to deal with the religious leaders and their hypocrisy. He didn't until the time was right. And during the last week of his life, the time was right. So on Monday, he challenged and was challenged by the religious leaders. On Tuesday, much of the same thing happens again when he's in Jerusalem. He gets confronted by different groups, different sects of the religious leaders. And during this Holy Week, some scholars believe it's Tuesday, other scholars landed on Monday, but whichever day during the Holy Week it is, one of the famous stories takes place as Jesus is confronted by the Pharisees and the Herodians. I will read it for us. It is coming from Mark chapter 12, verses 13 to verse 17. And they sent to him, that is the religious leaders, sent to him some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to trap him in his talk. What is interesting here is the Herodians and the Pharisees probably most likely did not get along. They hated each other, but here they joined forces to try to trap Jesus. Verse 14, and they came and said to Jesus, Teacher, we know that you are true and do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances, but truly teach the way of God. So, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? That's the question they're asking or trying to use to trap Jesus. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or should we not? But, knowing their hypocrisy, that is Jesus, he said to them, Why put me to the test? Bring me a denarius and let me look at it. And they brought one to him. And Jesus said to them, Whose likeness and inscription is this? They said to Jesus, Caesar's. So Jesus said to the Pharisees and the Herodians, Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they marveled at him. This is one of the stories that takes place on Holy Week, on the last few days of Jesus' life. There's so much here. But what I would say for us to notice today, especially during this season of this pandemic, right there, Jesus doesn't forbid taxes and paying taxes. There's no sense that Jesus is against the Romans. But what we sometimes miss and catch is that line, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, right? Whatever has Caesar's image on it, whatever bears the image of Caesar or the picture of Caesar, or whatever is a mirror of Caesar, give to Caesar. So Jesus is saying, give that coin to Caesar because it is bearing the image of Caesar. And then he says, and give to God the things that are God's. What bears God's image, what mirrors the image and picture of God, give to God. Well, the question then is, what bears or who bears the image of God? And the answer is, we do. Human beings are the image bearers of God from Genesis 1. This means Jesus is challenging us, even today, in the last week of his life. How are you living? What are you doing? How is your life going in such a way that you are giving to God, that you are worshiping God, that you are living for God, that you are living under the rule of God in such a way as you are bearing God's image? How is your worship for God? Jesus could have said it like that. And I think even in a season where we can't be doing a lot of activities, we can't be doing a lot of things, even our Evangelism can be a little challenging as we're not out and about. Even going together as a church family can be a little more challenging, even going to work and places like that. So this is a season where we're not doing a lot, but we can still worship God. We can still enjoy and glorify God in our lives. So as Jesus would say in the last week of his life here on the Holy Week on Tuesday morning, how are you worshiping God during this season?